So one of the most common questions that I still get to this day in comments, DMs, messages, and everything is, should I drive for another ride-sharing app? Should I be a rideshare driver for another app or service besides Lyft and Uber? And my answer every single time is, honestly, not really. And obviously when I say that, the next follow-up question is, well, why? Why shouldn't I drive for another app besides Lyft and Uber? And here's the reason why. I've done so many videos about obviously Lyft and Uber, as all my subscribers know, and I have a decent following on YouTube. And as a result, I get hit up constantly by new ride-sharing companies, and the message always goes the same. They say, look, we are going to compete with Lyft and Uber. We're going to be the new ride-sharing app that everybody orders from. We're going to destroy Lyft and Uber and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, look, I understand that you're a startup. A lot of startups have this mentality that they're going to completely destroy the market, even though statistically speaking, that usually doesn't happen. But I say, you know what? I'll wait. I'll wait. Let me see how you do. And then if actually, you do very well, I'll do a video on you. Because obviously they always hit me up asking if I can promote them or do a video on them or whatever. And unfortunately, I never hear from them again. Now, one thing I do want to say is I'm not saying that it's impossible for another ride-sharing app to, be brought into the system. I'm not saying that another ride-sharing app can't compete with Lyft and Uber. But it is very difficult and unbelievably tricky to do so. And here's the main reason why. If you think about it, with Lyft and Uber, there has to be a two-way street, I guess pun intended, two-way street for the transaction to happen. One, you need a driver that is at that exact moment on the road driving around. In addition, you need a passenger that has ordered that ride. And not only that, those two things need to happen at the exact same time. It's not like if, let's say, you want to start a new soda company. Let's say you want to compete with Coke and Pepsi, and you start a new soda company, and you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to start this new soda company. I'm going to put it on the shelves of Walmart. Well, if you put it on the shelf, someone can buy it a week later, a month later, right? Well, hopefully before it expires, right? But with Lyft and Uber or in any other ride-sharing app, the transaction have to happen at the exact same time. A driver has to be on the road at the exact same time a rider orders that ride. Now, going back to why you shouldn't drive for them, honestly, that's the main reason why, is a lot of these companies, and there's been a ton of them that I've heard of, some are very kind of city dependent. So for example, Lyft and Uber is pretty much worldwide right now. And I've heard some ride-sharing apps are like, hey, we are only located in this one city or this one town. And the truth is they usually don't do well, even if they receive funding or anything, because like I said, you need the marketing for the drivers, but then you need the marketing for the passengers. And in addition, a lot of these companies will hit me up saying, hey, Mark, you know what? We are going to pay the most to drivers. We're really going to pay well for drivers. We're also going to charge the cheapest amount for passengers. And I'm like, well, I hate to say it, but that's impossible. Unless you have a ton of seed money from maybe investors or whatever that you just want to kind of throw out. If you think about it, those two things are not correlational, right? They're inversely correlational, right? Anytime you pay your drivers more, the passengers, right, have to pay more. Anytime you pay the drivers less, the passengers inevitably going to pay less. It's a direct correlation, sorry. My mathematical skills are not as good as they used to be, right? But anyway, so I'm saying to a lot of drivers when they ask me why they shouldn't drive, I'd say this. My honest advice is, the reason why I say not really and not a hard no is, look, if you are going to drive for these apps, my best advice is to continue to drive for Lyft and Uber, but do the system where you have Lyft and, like, say, Uber and one of these new apps, like Joe Schmo's ride-sharing app, open at the exact same time. That way, if you do get a ride through Joe Schmo's ride-sharing app, this new app, perfect. Hit, accept ride, go pick them up. But if you don't, and statistically speaking, it doesn't sound like, who knows what will happen in the future, but obviously if you don't get a ride from them, no big deal, you're still getting rides from Lyft and Uber. So one thing I want to say to all the drivers out there is, don't try to put your eggs all in one basket. Be like, oh, trust me, Mark, this new ride-sharing app, it's going to be great. I'm going to start driving for them full-time, 100%, I'm going gung-ho on this app. I've heard of drivers doing that, and they say, look, I'm not going to lie, I lost a week's worth of work. I picked up one person, and it was a $5 to $10 ride. I would have made way more drive for Lyft and Uber, And again, I'm not trying to sound pessimistic on this video because I do think it's possible that another ride-sharing company can break into the market. But it is very highly unlikely, and my best advice is, look, if you are going to drive for one of these apps, just make sure you continue driving Lyft and Uber. That way you can kind of test the waters, see how it works out, and you never know. Maybe one of these apps do blow up, but overall, continue driving for Lyft and Uber.